At the heart of America's culture war lies education, and it's a fight that has intensified in recent years.
Explicit, graphic, sexual content, and I'm happy to talk about some of that content if you'd like to. Like rape.
You can find sure.
Or anal rape or dildo.
You can find all sorts
those types
of keywords.
Of words. But like,
wait, hold on, wait. Let me finish my question.
Okay,
Then
great,
you can answer.
sure.
I'm going to give you time to answer, but I got to ask you first.
In what context is a strap-on dildo acceptable for public school?
Our favorite cultural appropriating race baiter, Joy Reid, is back. Hey folks, welcome back to One and Done. And today, Joy Reid is going to take on Tiffany Justice from Mums for Liberty. Now, have you ever wondered what your kids get up to at school, who they hang out with, what they read? Well, watch this video because you're about to find out what is going on at school. And this is going to develop into a nice little catfight or dust-up. Someone is about to get a beat down. You don't want to miss it. Joy Reid and Tiffany Justice. Let's roll the tape.
The single most explosive trend in the education culture war is about books. And who exactly gets to remove them or challenge them? Who gets to decide what we have access to, what can be taught and what can be read? And at the center of this fiery debate is Moms for Liberty, a group founded in 2021 that campaigns for book removals in U.S. public schools. And joining me now is Tiffany Justice, co-founder of Moms for Liberty. Thank you for being here.
Happy to be here with you, Joy.
Great to meet you. So I want to play a clip. And this is an interview that you gave to Steve Bannon's War Room in 2022, March of 2022. Take a listen.
Sure.
Walk us through exactly what you're trying to accomplish. And this definition, it's a new concept. I want to make sure we have the nomenclature. What are parental rights?
Parental rights are rights that every parent has, and the government does not give them to you, and they cannot take them away. Every parent has the fundamental right to direct the upbringing of their children, their medical care. That includes mental health, by the way, their education, and their values education, their morals, their religious and character training. All of these things lie within the responsibility of the parent.
Now, I want to just make sure, do you still stand by those statements?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So then I guess the question becomes, which parents, right? Do African-American parents have parental rights?
Yeah, it's a God-given right to direct the upbringing of your children.
Do the LGBTQ parents and parents of LGBTQ kids, do they have parental rights?
Every parent, Joy. Every parent means every parent has the fundamental right to direct the upbringing of their children.
And liberal parents? Do liberal parents have those rights as well?
All parents, sure.
So let me point you to some statistics. Sure. Because the question becomes then who gets to decide what all kids get to read?
Now, I gotta say this because straight off the bat, she's trying to divide, LGBTQ, black parents, gay parents, liberal parents, all parents. It's actually quite simple, Joy, treating everyone equal and the same.
The Washington Post took a look at about 1,000+ book challenges that were filed, and they found that they were filed nationwide by just 11 people. Each of these people brought 10 or more challenges against books in their school district. Together, these serial filers constituted 6% of all book challengers, but they were responsible for 60% of filings. In Florida, Tampa Bay Times, they found that of roughly 1,100 complaints recorded in Florida since July 2022, we're talking about more than
Damn, blow your nose, girl.
700 just from two counties, Escambia in the Western Panhandle and Clay County. Together, those are less than 3% of the public school enrollment, 600 of those complaints, 2 people. Why should 13 people get to decide what books tens of thousands of children get to read?
Well, I'm thinking it's probably because those 13 people saw what some of the content was in the books. I mean, explicit, graphic, sexual content. And I'm happy to talk about some of that content if you'd like to.
Well, this is the question again. The books that are being banned, I want to give you just
some... No books are being banned.
No, hold on a second.
Well, no, Joy, but I want to be clear. No one's banning books. Write the book, print the book, publish the book, put the book in the public library, sell the book, right? We're talking about a public school library. Mm-hmm. Children don't have unfettered access to the internet at school. Mm-hmm. I did a FOIA records request, and I wanted to see what kinds of internet sites are banned in schools, if we're going to talk about banning, right? Mm-hmm. And the subject matter in the books that moms are concerned about are the same things that kids don't have access to on the internet. So it just feels very hypocritical, right? No, why is no one out there protesting for, free the internet in schools?
Let me give you an example of some of the books that have been removed from shelves as a result of the activities of organizations like Moms for Liberty.
We're not going to talk like Moms for Liberty. We're going to talk specifically Moms for Liberty.
Absolutely.
So
Well, before she waffles on, let's get into this. So there's plenty of things that are inappropriate for certain age groups, but you always have to take it further back. You have to take it back to the household. Now, as parents, we send our children to school to learn English, maths, science, geography. Sex education is an area that I think should be discussed and handled by families. I don't think you send your kids to school to learn about sex education. You send them to learn about the subjects that I just talked about before. Now, every family has their own morals, religious beliefs, understandings, expectations, and certain lines that aren't crossed. And no, not everyone is going to be the same and be treated the same at school. That's why it has to be done at home. Of course, you can reinforce some values, like treating each other with respect, not bullying. But as soon as you introduce sex education, particularly with teachers, that's possibly and probably going to go against the values and beliefs at home. Anyway, let's carry on to see what else this numpty has to say.
I'm happy to have this conversation with you, Joy.
Absolutely.
But we're going to be specific about the actions of Moms for Liberty chapters.
100%.
Because I can't be possibly responsible for every single parent in America.
But your organization is the lead. You're the leading organization that's doing this. You have chapters all over the country, and other organizations are following your lead. And PEN America has listed, they have posted the list of books that have been removed from shelves as a result of these activities. Let me just read you a couple of them. Anne Frank's A Diary of a Young Girl. Mouse, which is a book about the Holocaust, a graphic novel. Genderqueer, a memoir. All Boys Aren't Blue. Beloved, Martin Luther King Jr. and the March on Washington. Ruby Bridges Goes to School. Slaughterhouse-Five, The Color Purple, Forever by Judy Blume. I could go on. These are books that are not only popular, in some cases are classics. Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye. Let me give you an example.
Well, I'd like to answer your question.
Please do, yeah.
Yeah, so you just mentioned a list of books. And so Moms for Liberty doesn't have like a national book list. There was never a list of books that we put out and said, parents, be concerned about these books, right? We didn't do it because we want our parents to be effective advocates. So when moms are going into the libraries and the schools, when they're seeing what their children have access to, when they go to speak to the superintendent or the principal, they have accurate information, right? They're
and where
effective
are they getting
advocates.
their information from?
You can just go online to a catalog in your children's library, and you can see what
without
books are
reading
available.
the books. What is what is one moment? What is booklooks.com?
I'm aware of a website called booklooks.com where parents can go and see some of the books that other parents are concerned about.
Booklooks.com has been used in Florida extensively in counties like, I used to live in Broward County. I lived there for 14 years.
Okay.
In counties like Broward, counties like Clay, counties like Escambia, Moms for Liberty activists are using booklooks.com. And it's essentially a Cliff Notes for books.
Yeah.
So you go through without even having to read the book. I'm going to just hold it up so our audience can see what it looks like. This is the one for All Boys Aren't Blue, which is one of the books Moms for Liberty has pushed
Everyone
to have
should go and see the content in this book. That's such a good idea.
And so what happens is you can do keyword searches and find certain keywords.
Like rape.
You can find
or anal rape or dildo.
You can find all sorts
those types
of keywords.
Of words. But like,
wait, hold on, wait. Let me finish my question.
Okay,
Then you can answer.
sure.
I'm going to give you time to answer, but I got to ask you first.
No, yeah, I got the question.
And so what you find is the keywords that you find, the N-word, anything, words like you just used.
I mean, she's conflating, sexual stuff with racial stuff. And this is the reason why we can see why the West is going to hell in a handbasket. She's arguing for these sexualized books to be thrust into schools rather than worrying about actual reading and writing. She's going to spend this whole segment on this. This is just lunacy.
And you'll get out of context passages from the book. And then based on that, Moms for Liberty members are going to places like Broward County School Board meetings, reading out of context passages from these books, and then demanding that the school board remove them.
So what's
that is the way. Yeah. The question I'm asking is, what is?
And you know what? Those parents are brave, and I've seen some of those clips on YouTube. What's the problem with reading a passage out of a book? If you're upset with them reading the passage out of the book in front of adults, but you're not upset that kids have access to these books, that's just lunacy.
Is the expertise that you have and other Moms for Liberty advocates have to decide that a book, an award-winning book like All Boys Aren't Blue, isn't appropriate for students to read? What is your expertise?
What a tragic story of a young man who's anally raped by his adult family member. So you have incest, rape, pedophilia. Joy, you said you'd let me answer, so I'm going to answer
Please
for
do.
you. In what context is a strap-on dildo acceptable for public school? That's my question to you. Tell me what the context around.
Oh, damn, look at her face. She's happy. Look at her. What a weirdo.
The strap-on dildo or the rape of a minor child by a teacher.
Hold on a second.
No,
wait,
we're talking about public school.
One moment.
All right.
So now you've asked me a question. So
Sure.
I'm going to answer it.
Okay.
Well, who is the main character? What's the name of the main character in All Boys Aren't Blue?
You're asking me right now.
You just
to
gave
name-
me very specific information about this book, so you're presenting yourself as somebody expert.
It's the gentleman.
Hold on. Who's the main character in the book?
The main character is the author.
What's his name?
George, I believe, is his first name.
Because you're giving me very specific information that is.
You're asking me to remember the name of an author.
You
the
just
name of the
remembered
author
very
doesn't.
specific names.
Joy.
Here's my
We're
question.
talking about
Here's my
strap.
question.
You didn't answer my
No.
question.
I'm going to answer your
Great.
question.
I would love to hear that.
Absolutely. Well, I'm interviewing you and you're not interviewing me. So let's just make sure it's a conversation, okay?
Okay, great.
So what I'm saying to you is that as you are not an expert, in this book...
I don't have to be an expert to know that dildos aren't appropriate for public school. I mean, come on, let's get real.
This book is a full context story, as you said, of the author's experience. Why is it your right or a Moms for Liberty activist's right to say that a parent who wants their child to have access to this book, which gives a personal experience of this author, why doesn't a liberal parent, for instance, or a parent of an LGBTQ kid, why don't they have a right for their...
So what, we want to share all of our experiences? We want all of our experiences to be represented in books at school? Get out of here, man. A lot of people have been through some absolute weird shit. You don't want innocent minds being exposed to that, wondering what is that? Ooh, how does that go? I mean, seriously. That's for your parents to talk about. That's for your grandparents. That's for your uncles, your aunt. Well, maybe not your uncles and aunties, but not for books in school.
Their child to just have access to this book. Why is it your right to say they can't?
So, again, we're talking about incest, rape, and pedophilia.
And each parent...
But what right is it for you to say that my kids are going to have access to that book? It's not something I can condone, or many other parents, in fact.
Boy, you said you let me answer.
No. Each parent has to decide what is appropriate for their child to read.
At home, Joy. At home.
So I want you to answer. I'm going to ask you one more time.
Right.
What is your right to tell a parent who wants their child, who might feel seen by this story, why don't they have the right? Why don't they have the right as a parent to say, my child can have access to this book?
If a child feels seen by this story, that means that they have been the victim of a predator. That means that they have either been raped by a family member, they've experienced
and your proof
rape
of that is what?
You just said that
What's
if a
your
child
proof of
feels
that?
seen by this story. What I'm saying, Joy,
you're now making assumptions about it.
Joy, but if a child has been raped, we should do a lot better than put a book on the library
Now you're literally
shelf.
creating a story behind a child that you don't know. Let me show you a form. This is a form.
That's exactly what you just did, Joy. You just said that child's experience. She's using the same example you just put up.
That can be obtained in Broward County, Florida.
Okay.
I'm going to show it to the audience, and then I'm going to show it to you. Okay. This is called the opt. Yeah, please. I'm going to hand it to you.
Thank you so much.
It's called the opt-out form.
Okay.
An opt-out form would allow any parent, because you said you are in favor of parental rights.
I am.
It would allow any parent to opt out of their child being able to take books out of the library without their parents' permission.
Okay.
So that Moms for Liberty, why not advocate that every school in America have an opt-out form so that a parent who doesn't want their child to access a book like All Boys Aren't Blue, that they can make that choice? Because then each parent, including a liberal parent, a black parent, a parent who wants their child to read a book about African-American history, then they get their
rights. We want children to read.
Well, it should be an opt-in form if that's the case, because if you don't have an opt-out form, I guess automatically the kids can go and access whatever they want. And mysteriously, the opt-out form gets lost in the mail. So it should be opt-in for a start, and still not something I agree with, because these people in positions of power, they can lie. They can, misrepresent what the books are actually going to be about. And we're seeing that before our eyes. Joy's making out these are fairy tales. That's
to read books.
carrying
Why not just
African-American
opt
history,
out
so.
for yourself rather than tell other parents what they can and cannot?
First
have
of
their
all,
children
I
read?
think what you're talking about here is a wonderful step in the right direction. We should be having conversations about this. This is about local control. A lot of these decisions are made at the local school board level, and that's where these decisions should be made. And there should be vibrant conversations about what's happening in our public schools and what kids have access to. Joy, however, maybe we could just put all the books with all the graphic sexual content, the dildos, the rape, the incest.
I'm sorry.
Let's do
I'm so sorry.
Let's do a back room.
Excuse me.
Let's put a curtain up in the library
First
like
of all,
they used
hold
to
on.
do.
One moment.
in the video stores. Remember when we were little and you would go to the video store?
The books that Moms for
and they
Liberty.
put those
The
books,
books that Moms for Liberty.
with pornography.
I know that you. I've seen.
We could just do that in
I
the
have
public
seen
library.
tapes of
Does
what
that
Moms for
sound
Liberty does,
appropriate?
and you all go into school board meetings and you read graphic stuff.
Disingenuous conversation.
No, it's not.
There's America used to understand that there's something called age-appropriate content.
Right, and here's my
We
question
have
again.
ratings on movies.
Again. Ruby Bridges Goes to School is on the list of books that Moms for Liberty has attempted to have removed.
Absolutely not.
It absolutely is. Let me ask about the people who are making the decision for other parents, because you have not answered yet why a liberal parent or an African-American parent can't say,
We have parents who are Democrats who are members of our organization.
But you're still trying to make decisions for all the kids. Here are some of the parents that are filing, or some of your advocates.
She's trying to put the power back into the hands where it should be, back into the hands of parents. Parents know at least they should know what's best for their kids in most cases, rather than some blue-haired genius liberal genius at school. Parents are going to have a much better understanding of what they want for their kids and direction that their family and their values are aligned.
Bridget Ziegler, the Moms for Liberty co-founder, the wife of the recently ousted Florida Republican Party chairman, Christian Ziegler, who allegedly was involved in threesomes, same-sex threesomes. Mrs. Ziegler was removed from the school board at which she was a leader. You've had
She wasn't removed from the school board.
Okay, you have Lauren DePaula. She was making book ban requests in Alachua County, but then records show that she and her husband didn't live there. They'd sold their home in that county. Carrie Blair in Tennessee, who was arrested for property theft charges after allegedly stealing from Target, skip scanning in Target. Why should those three people get to make decisions about what other children should be able to read? Other parents' children should be able to read.
Do you know that I served as a school board member from 2016 to 2020?
Are you going to answer my question?
Yeah, I'm
because
going to.
we don't have an endless time.
Joy, I'm going to answer your question, but I need you to understand that when I was an elected representative, I would sit on that dais. And how dare I, sitting there as an elected representative, judge a parent when they would come to the podium to speak and advocate for their child? Because as we started this conversation, we'll end it. Every parent has a fundamental right to direct the upbringing of their children. And I would not stand in judgment, Joy, about a parent's education level, their sexual orientation, their race, their religion. That is not what America is about.
I'm going to answer. I'm going to ask my question,
Yes,
Ms.
ma'am.
Justice. Mrs. Justice. That's
Thank
fine.
you.
If a parent believes that their child should be able to read Ruby Bridges,
we believe that children should be able to read.
Then how can Moms for Liberty insist that the school board take that book away and then say that a parent who wants the child to be able to read it must purchase it? That's essentially putting a tax on parents who want their children to read the book. Your kids get to have books for free that you agree with, but children who want to read, or parents who want their children to read books you don't like, have to purchase it. That doesn't sound
Joy,
fair.
Did you know that in the city that we're sitting in, only a quarter of children are reading on grade level?
That's a great point. That's a great point.
And so while we're having this conversation about books in libraries, two things should be happening.
That's a great point.
We should be talking about literacy rates and the fact that America's kids are not learning how to read, and we should be having vibrant conversations about what books should be in libraries.
Absolutely. And let me add one more point here. In Florida, the law states that if a Moms for Liberty or other advocate demands that a book be removed, then a process in each of those counties has to begin. The sometimes 3 and 4 person staffs who are being inundated with Moms for Liberty requests. It is true. I've literally spoken with people in these organizations.
School districts deal with lots of issues.
I'm going to finish my thought.
Go ahead.
Were they not having to go through, and they actually have to read the full book to make a decision as to whether to make a recommendation for the book to be banned. Were they not doing that, what they would be doing is literacy education.
No,
what they would be doing is literacy education. That is what they're not doing because they're spending time on your book ban requests.
And this is absolutely ridiculous.
But it's true.
But it's not, Joy, because school districts do lots of things very, very well
with
at the
very
same
little,
time.
with very little funding.
And you actually make a great point because there was no vetting process for a lot of these materials in the library.
And what is the expertise of Moms for Liberty to do the vetting?
Oh my gosh,
normally what a school board would do, you were on a school board, you would hire experts and have expert voices come in,
parents
and people who are sociologists, people who are library science,
parents are the
and
best
those are the people who would make decisions. One more thing, in Florida versus New York. New York spends about $26,000 per student.
40,000.
26,000.
40,000.
And in Florida, it's about $10,000. So we're talking about much less money. The requirement in some of these schools, they don't even have a school librarian because the school actually doesn't have enough money.
Isn't that awful?
Instead of spending their time going through your book bans, they could actually be focusing on hiring library science technicians.
We
who
don't
can
have a funding
do
problem
the job
in American public education. We have a priorities problem.
And the priorities ought to be that each parent, including liberal parents, should be able to make their own decisions about what their children read.
I think we can agree on that.
Then I think that Moms for Liberty should not be making those decisions for them on their behalf. But Tiffany Justice, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So there you have it, folks. I really couldn't take any more. That Joy Reid is just a contrarian. If it's not sexual orientation, then it's race baiting. She's one of the biggest race baiters known to mankind. Now, I'm 100% on the side of Tiffany Justice. I think Mums for Liberty is a great organization that advocates for parents and parents' rights. And any sort of sex education, I believe that should be done at home. Now, Joy Reid, she's a mother of three, and I can't really work out what the hell she's thinking. And Tiffany brought up a great point. Only a quarter of the students are reading at grade level. Why isn't that a focus? Now, in the comments section of the MSNBC YouTube channel, Joy Reid got slapped around. She was taking L's from all over the place, left, right, center, everywhere. She was taking huge L's. And their video had a disapproval rating of over 80%. I really don't know what they're thinking, but why don't you let me know what you're thinking? Leave your comments in the comment section below, and as usual, I will respond to them. Thanks so much for tuning in again, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and help us get to that 1,000 subs, and I'll see you in the next video.